piece of junk. Ah. Well, everyone, how's it going? I am trying to see if... What in the world? My unadulterated thoughts are much more extreme than what I expressed here. I hate this thing. I hate you with a passion sometimes, YouTube. All right, so we're gonna change around. One thing about this whole YouTube thing is that it's very using this YouTube, whatever you call this YouTube thing, is that it's very unforgiving. It's not very. They've slowly improved it over the years, but generally speaking, it's really just a terrible, terrible thing. All right, so I'm trying something different today. Where, well, let's rewind. Today's episode of the Coffee Q&A live stream, welcome everyone, good to see all of you, is brought to you by the Power Plant, who bitched and moaned yesterday about how many times we've been doing these OXO Rapid Brewer videos. So I thought, okay, let's change it up for you. Tomorrow we'll go back to OXO Brew. But actually, after what? We did 9 episodes in a row of OXO Rapid Brewer, and I'm like, man, I'm getting a little bit tired of this silly thing. So how y'all doing? Good to see all your coffee was with us. Good morning to you, Andrew. How are you, Mom, Keone, Russell? Good to see all of you. Great to see you. So as you can see, we're in the workshop, and I have set up because of today's topic is going to be something a little bit different, and yeah, we should make coffee because it's a coffee day, right? It's a coffee day. Here in Baltimore, it is 65 degrees. So a little bit cool. So I've got my little kit here of, Kent, how are you, man? Good to see you. Of coffee making supplies. Now, you see that it says here on this little latch here, it says Lamello. I don't have any Lamello equipment, and if you're not familiar with Lamello is this company that makes these particular woodworking joinery machines that are wildly expensive. And I'm saying that as a Festool person, wildly expensive. Like the new Lamello P2 is like $1,800. But this is their box, and I got it from a guy who was selling them for like $20. I think I got it like 20, 30 bucks. So since it matches my company colors, red and white, I kind of like keep all the coffee stuff in it, and that's what I have in here. Yeah, as you can see, this was for the Zeta P2. But we've got some coffee gear in here. Let's see what we got. What are we gonna make? We're gonna make, I guess the only brewer that I have here is our Kogu. So we're gonna use the Kogu with this, and that's really all that we need from this kit, because you know why? I'm gonna do, we will do some grinding. We will do some grinding. So, but today, like speaking of grinding, today's episode is about grinders, right? So I have this grinder. I've got this Zassenhaus that was gifted to me by one of my customers, David Clark. Thank you very much, David. And I also picked up one of these. I think these are Indian. Suma. It's it's supposed to be kind of this box, kind of thing. It's plastic. I think it's all plastic. It's just wrapped in plastic, or maybe it's Chinese. I don't know, but I think I got it from an Indian grocery, and it's got a metal. I mean, it's not the metal, like this, the Zassenhaus feels, the metal feels robust. This feels tinny, right? I've actually never used this grinder. I bought it, I intended to use it. I might have even bought it to make a video, but I never used it, and it's just been sitting around for years now, just years sitting here. But this one, the Zassenhaus, if you're not familiar with Zassenhaus, in the world of coffee, the Zassenhaus, which is spelled Zassenhaus, is what is it? It's one of the best. It's always been one of the best. It's just high quality. They've been around for, I don't know, 200 years or whatever it is. So it's a really nice one. And like when I started in the business, everybody, if you were anyone that was somebody, you had a Zassenhaus if you wanted to make coffee. And I remember my mentor would bring his Zassenhaus on our trips, and I would be the FNG guy sitting there at 5:30 in the morning grinding away, which is why I really despise. I don't find joy in hand grinding. But today we're going to use this grinder, and I don't know where it's set. We changed the setting on one of the episodes a while back, so I think we should be okay for pour-over brewing. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our coffee. Today we're going to use the Yemeni Northern Crown. Now this is the same coffee we used way back earlier this summer. It is the same coffee. It's just been sitting in a bag. And it's been sitting in this like canvas bag, actually in another box here in the garage. And we're going to see what it tastes like now. It was really great when we first roasted it. Today, who knows what it's going to be like. And it's always to see, like, can you use coffee beyond its theoretical prime, right? Like, we're always about, like, oh, you should use coffee in like 2 weeks. But, I don't think that's necessarily the case. And one of the OXO Rapid Brew recipes that I was reading about is called the recipe for old coffee, or at least that's what I'm calling it. And it's designed so that if you have old coffee, you can extend that, you reduce whatever this recipe is. I read it, that I wrote it down, but I didn't really memorize it. And yeah, so it's old coffee, stuff. But who knows? The guys that are writing these, that are making up these things, old coffee to them is probably like 16 days old. So one never knows the veracity of your sources. Mickey Roll is with us. What's going on, man? How are you? Good morning to you. And those of you who may be wondering, why are you doing this vertical thing? I really don't like the vertical thing normally, but because I forgot to change one of the settings. In the YouTube studio, we're just stuck. And I can't change it once I hit the live button, or once I create the file, it won't allow me to change it, which is just very distressing. Okay, so how much coffee are we going to use? Normally we would use a ratio of 12 grams, out of 24 grams for 12 ounces of coffee. So 2 grams for every finished ounce. I put whatever will fit kind of in the Zassenhaus. I don't know how much actually is in here. We're just going to kind of feel our way through it because, sometimes you may be in a situation where you're not, you don't have your scales. You don't have all of your precious equipment. So sometimes you just got to make it work. And this is going to be one of those times. So we're going to take the Zassenhaus and we're going to start to grind. And why are we using this silly device today? And I mean silly as in all hand grinders, not just the Zassenhaus. I actually love the Zassenhaus. Well, I love it. I always wanted to have one. So when David Clark gave it to me, I was very, very excited. Why people choose to do this instead of using an electric is beyond me. What I really want to do is take some screws and screw this to the workbench to give me more positive power. So part of what we're doing today is that we're going to be, I decided to make my own grinder. Even though I despise hand grinding, I thought, let me make a hand grinder because maybe it's kind of fun. Maybe I can get some creativity and artistry out of it because, maybe I'm just living a dull life where I do nothing except, nothing in particular, and I need some kind of outlet. Uh-oh. Why is it? I'm getting some spillage here. That's looking a little bit on the coarser side than I probably would like. And honestly, I'm just not going to change the grind setting. I'm just not going to do it. Now, when it comes to those other grinders, the more modern hand grinders that have, the ones that are like the Kogu or the Porlex or the Comandante and all those, they kind of fit in your hand more. So you can do this kind of like bicycle crank action with it. It's such a big I'm used to holding big things in my hand, but it's not conducive to that kind of operation. Maybe if I stand up. Who needs Ozempic when you have this? That's why I'm using it. Keone says it would be interesting to use the coffee wood to make a grinder. It is a hardwood, but not very good. Oh yeah, that's a good one. That is a good idea. I don't have any coffee wood. I don't even think any of the lumber suppliers that I know in this region even. I don't think I've ever seen this coffee wood. Well, it's good. It's also a little bit, if I think about the coffee trees that we do with, they never get really that big. They're like this, at the most. I mean, you could you could plank it out. Like this is a branch from a black locust tree that fell in my yard earlier this year. And I just kind of playing around with the bandsaw. So, but we could do something. You could, then joint it all together and make that work somehow. That would be interesting. Okay. Oh, okay. We're done. I got all the coffee. There it is. Which, looking at it now, is way too much. More than we're going to need for today's cup. There's some interesting aromas, but I'm not quite clear whether the aromas are from the coffee, from the grinder, from whatever's in the garage here. This is really a garage. I say wood shop, but really it's a garage. All right, so this is the Kogu. One of my, I've been, those of you who know me, know that or watch the show, you know that I've been wanting to buy one of these for quite a while. I was messaging them on Instagram for the last 2 years. What are you going to bring to the United States? How can I order? Can you please put some of this stuff on Amazon Japan? And finally, I saw they came to the SCA show in Houston this year, and I was able to grab some stuff. So they have their own brand of filters. I'm going to use the filters here. I guess we can come closer since we are. Every once in a while. Is that the coffee? It's kind of got a little bit of funkiness on the nose. All right, so how much coffee are we going to use? We're going to use this much coffee. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit more than because I really feel like this coffee is very coarsely ground for pour over. Now we're going to use it all. Whatever coffee is in, however much coffee that was, we're going to use it. I really like how this has this nice wooden joint. Look, they even have joints, right? They even have dovetail. They're not dovetail joints. They're just regular box joints or whatever they call them. There's jointed, and that's really nicely made. These Germans or Austrians. Oh, and there's even little tiny, I don't know if you can see that, but there's little pieces of metal spring steel that wedge onto the side of the door of the drawer, so the drawer doesn't fall out. That's clever. What are these? How did they put that in there? They must have put it in. Oh, they probably. Oh, so I can. They stapled the bottom on. So they built the box, they built the sides, and then they stapled this on. But I bet they put that in while this was still off. Huh, nice. All right, so we got our coffee. It's all mounded. You can kind of see it here. I'm gonna shake it to give it a little bit of, whatever you call that. Make it even. Kyone says there are a lot of wild plants in the Waianae Mountains. It would need to be laminated. Oh, you mean the coffee wood? Well, that would be nice. Though. I would like that. All right. So what we're going to use? We're not going to boil any water. We're going to, if we're out in the wild and we need to like make coffee on the fly, you don't really want to bring a stove and like heat water. You just bring one of these. Like these are the Zojirushi Tough Slim thermoses, and they've got a little cap on it, so the cap can serve as a cup. So if you want to put hot beverage or hot soup or whatever here, you can still have a way to drink it instead of drinking it straight from the thermos. Now, one thing about that is that this is actually really great. This is a great thermos. I highly recommend it. Like we used it for, you can use it hot or cold. We would keep like, milks and creams. You can put bechamel sauce and have it not break on you for like hours on end if you're in a restaurant setting. So it's really got a lot of usage. I really learned about this from the chef world, because they were like, oh man, this is what we put on. And the guys will have like a line of them all with all their different sauces all at the ready. And then it's got this little button here, this red button. You press the button and the spout pops up. It's got a little stopper in there, and it's a little bit of the stopper protrudes through the lid. So when you need to push it back down, you can push it back down, just kind of like to regulate the flow. And it's got this little rubber on the top there that's comfortable and catchy. And then when you want to close it, this little tab that sticks out. It's pretty awesome. Like I've had these for like 15, 18 years. And the spout works fairly well for coffee making. So let's brew some. Let me bring you closer to the... Now you can see it's very coarse. This is really more like an auto drip grind that you'd see from like, actually, I think even Folgers is finer than this. But what we're going to do is, that's part of the reason why I didn't really worry too much about how much coffee. We're just going to use it all, because I want to try to get as much extraction as possible. Because, the fatter the grind, the coarser the grind, and on a pour-over setting, the less extraction you're going to get out of it. So you either put more water, longer exposure time, contact time with the water, or more coffee to get more solubles in it. This is actually what Intelligentsia used to do when the V60 first came out, because they would, they wanted to be cool and they wanted to have the V60. Instead of using a more normal ratio of coffee to water, they would actually, for a 12-ounce cup, instead of using like 24 grams, they would use 44 grams. So they could go coarse like this and then run and gun the brew. So if you would use 44 grams for a 12-ounce cup, you can pour really hard and try to push it to 2 minutes, and you'll still get the same extracted soluble level. So I guess it worked. So we're just pouring it in. You can kind of see. Naomi, how are you? Good to see you. We are not using any grind settings. Now this, I should make a note, like you can see on my shirt, it's reading normally instead of reverse. And part of that's the reason, because I'm using the regular camera on the iPhone, and I'm actually, which makes it a little bit more difficult, because I'm not really seeing what I'm doing in the moment that I'm doing it, because I'm actually watching the stream on my laptop, and it is, several moments behind, probably more in time with what you are seeing, which I think is interesting. As someone that's doing live streams, I think it's interesting to watch it, because it shows how much time there is between when I say it and when you might actually hear it. And sometimes I wonder, like, if I'll say something, how long it takes for a response, for a reaction. It can be, and from my perspective, it feels significant. You're like, ooh. So as you can see, it's fairly simple to brew this coffee. And, you could, and I'm not really doing anything special. Like, I'm not doing any special pouring method. I'm really just trying to keep it saturated and the water flowing, and I'm watching. You can see where it is. We're actually probably more coffee than we might need. We can stop there. All right, so we're just going to let that flow through. I'm going to get my mug. It looks like kibbles and bits. It is very coarse. It is a very coarse grind today. And I'm going to use the lid to, oh, ouch. Metal is hot. Just put that in like this. Okay, good. Now that'll catch any kind of errant coffee. And now we've got it in here. Oh, there has been some escape. There's some particulate matter floating in here. I actually don't know if that's particulate matter that maybe somehow overflowed or around or something like that, or maybe just particulate matter because it's just been sitting around the garage for the last couple months. Okay, so transfer that. Okay, so that's good. Just a little bit more than 12 ounces, as you can see. This is a 12-ounce mug, so that kind of gives us, you know, a reference point. And Power Plants is with us. Good to see you, man. Do you think you'll ever get a good hand mill, or you're satisfied with the stuff? You know, I mean, here's the thing. I don't use hand grinders really much. I mean, maybe one day I'll get one just so we can play with it. But, you know, I have more Festool to buy than hand grinders. That's really, when it comes to cash power, like where I'm going to spend like a lot of cash, I'm really more disposed to buying more Festool than buying more coffee gear, right? But I mean, if I get a good deal on one, I'll certainly get. You know, I'm always open to picking it up. But for, like I said, but also the other thing is that I'm not hell bent on using hand grinders. If at all possible, I would prefer to pre-grind everything. Like if I'm traveling somewhere, and that's really where, for me in my life, that's where I see my journey with the hand grinders. That I would be a hand grinder for me would be more purposeful as a traveling companion. And then when it comes to traveling companion, I would much rather just, unless I'm traveling by car and I can take my case here with me, that can carry a lot more stuff. But if I'm traveling like by plane, I'd rather not bring any. I would rather not bring anything. And the times that I have brought stuff were to do like videos about traveling and how to brew coffee while you're somewhere in the world. So, but you know, there's not to say there's never going to happen. Proplan says coffee grounds equals fiber. And so do you think your passion is incorporated over coffee nowadays? From the, you know, it's not necessarily it's what, so here's the thing, here's the difference. So like, you guys all are enthusiasts of coffee, right? So for you, coffee's a fast. Oh, this is actually still very nice, gosh. There's a nice sweetness, a little bit of dry in the finish. Very nice, good balance, good body. You know, it is a great question because, you know, woodworking has certainly been a passion of late, this past year or so. And it's always been something that I've been involved in some way, like whether we're building, and some kind of building has always been part of it, whether we're building the bar at the Cafe de Spro, or I'm building out the Hamden shop, or the previous Towson shop, or even the two previous shops before that. So I've always been involved in building and projects, you know, whether we're doing light construction or carpentry or installing electric and installing plumbing. And because I'm a cheap operator and I don't want to spend too much money, I've had to learn how to do all of those things. Wiring electric, like the whole roaster, I wired the entire roastery the last go around. So, I mean, but I'm also at a point now where I'm like, I'm a little bit older and I'm like, well, you know, do I really want to do all that kind of work? Like, I'll just hire it out now. Like, we had to build a wall at the new space and I was like, I couldn't do it. I could do it. I could stud it out and put in drywall and, you know, do all that and paint. But I was like, why? I don't want to do that. I've got a great contractor who's relatively affordable, and I can sit at home. But I was going to say, so all of you guys have your own professional life, right? So whatever it is that you're doing in your professional world, that's what you do. And then you find coffee as an enjoyable pursuit externally of your profession. So bear in mind that coffee is my profession, right? This is what I have done for a living for the last like 24 years, 23 years, whatever. Since 2002, this is what I've been doing. And so, I've been very involved and like, so for me, it's like, you know how you have a hobby, you do your work and you come home and you do your hobby. For me, the woodworking part is the hobby, right? And it's like, so this is what I do professionally, coffee. And I hope that I can, impart good knowledge about coffee. But it is the profession, right? It is what puts the food on the table. So from my perspective, the perspective of a lot of the coffee professionals out there, the perspective is going to be a little bit different than the enthusiast because of that fact, right? Because of that, like each of my friends in the business, they all have while they're very accomplished coffee professionals, they all have their own individual pursuits. I can think of one of my friends, Stephen Lee. He's out in California. Lee is an Lee, as in Korean Lee, right? So if you look Stephen Lee, Steven Lee, I don't know if he has a .com on it, but if you look him up as an artistry painting, Stephen's he has become a really great oil painter. Like he creates these great oil paintings and he posts about them on his Facebook. I'm always like, dude, this looks awesome. And he kind of marries the two passions, the professional and the enthusiasm part of it together, because like he does a lot of paintings about coffee. Like he'll paint still lifes of the Chemex, and it's really great. And actually, Roast Magazine, you should look at it for $20. I think it's $20. Roast Magazine has compiled a lot of his paintings and is releasing it as a 2026 calendar. When I rewrite all of the descriptions, I'll try to remember all of these details and put some links in the description below. But so he's really into painting, and then each other of my friends have different pursuits. Some of them, of course, have children, and so a lot of the family time consumes their lives outside of work. But everybody has their own pursuits and that are external. So it's not necessarily that I don't like coffee or not so passionate about coffee. It's just that, for me, it's still the professional life, right? It's still the professional sphere where, and I do have to balance, like, buying gear. Like the gear that I need to think about is going to be a little bit different. Like we were just talking yesterday about installing I did a long video about them, and I can't remember the name. Eversys. We're going to install an Eversys in a restaurant that's going to open in March of 2026, or that's the scheduled date. They have still to break ground, and they're going to send me the plans for the bar maybe today. But so typically my gear thinking is really on a different area, right? Like I'm thinking about brewers, like not just like the Kogu. The Kogu is kind of fun. Like the Kogu is totally like what I think is cool. But like otherwise I'm thinking about which Fetco should we use for this application. Like there's another restaurant where we might be taking over their coffee program. And so now it's a question of what brewer to use. I think they're using Fetco's. Do we go to Curtis? So they have other locations, and like, do you want to match them? Does it matter? Because do they have staff that transfers between locations? And evidently, the answer to that is no. So there doesn't need to be equipment continuity across the locations. So these are the things I think about with coffee on a daily basis, so. And I also am one, because I come from the professional ranks, is like, I think I'm always concerned about getting value for the customer, right? For my guests at Spro, it's always been a question of getting, the people, people getting value for their money, and there's all these companies that come out with all these products, and some of them are very good, and some of them are just okay, and some of them are probably not worth buying, but there's so much out there, and how do you you know, and my real question is, in my mind is, does any of you really need it? What do you really need? And like, you know, hopefully we can provide some insight into maybe you don't need all these, the new doohickey. If you find enjoyment in buying the latest gear and playing with it, certainly that is of great value and totally um, legitimate in reason. It's just a matter of like, I wonder, like, you know, I see other YouTubers in the coffee sphere or in any sphere of interest and passion. Like, you see YouTubers and they're just, every video they make, it's like, this is the, like we were just talking about this on the woodworking side. It's like, there's this one woodworker or YouTuber and we don't really see him build anything, but all he does is like, every video is like, this tool is going to change woodworking forever. And you're like, every week there's a new tool changing woodworking forever. And it's like, I feel like I see that in some of the coffee videos. Like, there's always gear. It's a gear, and I get it. Like, if I look at the videos on this channel that perform the best, it is the geared stuff. So, yeah, but I'm not a big gear guy overall. You know, I mean, there's gear that I like, that I really believe in, and then the rest is like, well, impress me and show me why I need to like be enthusiastic about your product. You know, so that's a little bit of a overdone answer to your question. Power Plant says, personally, I think everyone should have lots of passion. Some take more, and don't do woodworking because it takes up a lot of space. Like, I have to go to Pennsylvania this afternoon to go look at more gear. See, I'm buying more gear. I'm looking at more gear. I'm not buying this. Let's talk about one more thing before we get to our other topic, and that is scones, right? Scones. This is a passion, right? Like, here's something. So this is a scone, really simple scone. You know, there's so many different recipes out there. They're super easy to make. Sugar, flour, what is it? Sugar, flour, some kind of liquid, and basically that's kind of the basic essential recipe. And here's the greatest thing about scones, and this is what we would do at Spro in our kitchens and our bakery, and this is what I do here at home. We make the scones, cut them out, put them on a tray, and freeze them. And then after they're frozen, well, at least here we do it. At Spro we keep them in hotel pads, but here at my house, toss them in a big old freezer Ziploc bag, and then whenever I feel like I'm having a scone, I just reach in, grab one, put it in the toaster oven at 375 degrees for 15 minutes, and it comes out like this. This is a little bit maybe overcooked. You can cook it to however you want. Like, people always ask me, like, well, how long should I cook for? Until it's done, right? Like, don't let it, too many people are like, oh, it should be there, X amount of minutes. It's like, no, wait till it, look, and I kind of was setting up here, so it got a little bit further. This is fine. I don't mind that. But scones are can be a great accompaniment to your coffee. I really should put the lid on to preserve the heat of this coffee. And what do you with scones? So I don't know if I'm a purist or not, but I like clotted cream, right? So we make our own clotted cream. And what you do is, if you've never made clotted creams, if you buy it, it's really expensive. Like, I see it at the Wegmans, and I'm like, oh God, like this little teeny tiny bottle for like, $10. Like, what? Why am I going to buy that? That's crazy. But to make clotted cream, you take heavy cream, 30 to 35 to 40% heavy cream, and you put it in a big casserole or a hotel pan, whatever you have, a shallow pan that you're going to put in the oven at 175 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 125, 135 Celsius, I think. So you take that and then you put it in the oven and you let it bake for 24 hours, full 24 hours. So if you have, if you don't do it on a day you need to bake for like somebody else or use the oven for something else, because you won't be able to do it. 175, 24 hours, and then when you finally get it out, the liquid has separated from the cream. The cream has reduced and like become this caramelized, crusty thing, and all you got to do is you cut into it, pour off the liquid, save the liquid. You can use that to make the scones. It's actually beautiful for scones. And then you scoop it all up and you put it into like jars or whatever, and I freeze mine. I don't know if you can I imagine you can can it, but I don't know if that would work. But I freeze mine in jars like this or just containers, and then you thaw it out, and you've got freshly made, or just you have your own homemade. In this moment that I've been talking, I forgot what clotted cream. Clotted cream. Then you can also use jams. Like I like strawberry jam. So this is strawberry jam that I've made here from strawberries. What I'll do is, depending, like, I didn't do it this year because I have so much of this from last year, but basically what I'll do is I'll go out to my local farm, strawberry farm, in June, because I didn't make any in 2023 because I was away in June shooting in Japan and Asia, and then I came back and I was like, I went to the farms and I was like, I need strawberries. They're all gone, dude. They're all gone. I was like, they're all gone. You can go to Driscoll's at this grocery, and I was like, oh, forget that. So buy fresh from the farm, like in season, and man, the flavors are so beautiful. Like this is beautiful flavor, and so I just kind of like, and basically you take the strawberries, cut off the tops, the greens, unless you really want that. You can cut them up if you want. I leave them whole. I put them in a pan, I add water, I add a bunch of sugar, and I boil it. And I boil it for like an hour or 2 hours until it reduces to the texture that I want. Then it can, right? So it's super easy to do. Like these are, and it takes some time, right? And it's, like I was teaching my aunt how to do it with figs earlier this year, or just a few weeks, maybe a month or so ago. And I was like, and she brought this little bit of figs. I was like, I want to make jams. Like, you only have a little bit of figs. We should have more, because there is a lot of work involved. It's a bit of work. So I think it's always better to like make it en masse. And so you have a whole bunch, because the effort for one jar is mostly the same as in 12 jars. So one gives you more, and then you give to gifts or whatever, or don't give them the gifts. Hoard them as much as you want. Let your friends taste it when they come over, and then tell them, oh, I can't give you any because you're just not worthy of my love in this way. But it's really easy to make. I mean, it's really simple to make. You just got to make sure. Watch some videos about, if you're going to can it, watch some videos about canning. You really want to make sure that you bring a whole water bath to a boil. Boil your lid and your glass, and then put it together. Then boil it again for the recommended time to seal the can. You're supposed to boil it, put it back in the hot water and boil for, depending on what you're canning, 15 minutes to an hour. Like if you're canning meats, hour, I think it is. I never done that. I just do simple stuff. I don't want to. And then, like, as you take it out, it will cool down, and then the lid will seal. And remember, if you ever have canned products, whether it's commercially canned, like in a can or in a jar, and it's still sealed, you've never opened it, and you press on the top and it flexes, throw it out. Throw it out. Don't even open it. Don't even question it. Just get rid of it, because chances are botulism has formed and you will die from eating it. So don't do that. Don't do that. At the very least, you will spend a miserable time in the hospital wishing you were dead. I see, sorry, we've been babbling too much. I think I said this, but personally, I think everyone should have a lot of passion. Some take, oh yeah, we did, but definitely, I totally agree with that. I think that's what makes life enjoyable. And look at that, the pour over, I'm losing my space here. The pour over is nicer than the Rapid Brewer. You're really happy that we're done. We're not doing the Rapid Brewer today, aren't you? Coffee Cove says, "Wonder how the coffee would turn out with deeper." I think it turned out well. Like I'm really. I think it's really nice. Like, it's got all the Yemeni kind of characteristics. Maybe there's a slight woodiness to it. Maybe that's the age, but there's good sweetness. There's good flavor, good body. Like there's nothing that I'm not liking about it. PowerPoint says, they say do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life unless it's for. Oh, we love food service. We love food service. Actually, when I was out with a friend yesterday who's a very well-to-do, very successful chef, and we're just talking, just laughing about life and how much at one time, like he's also on the Manjaro, right? He's on the drug. He's taking the drugs. And so he's also lost quite a lot of weight too. And it's funny because like the food is a different thing now. Like before, we would like food was always important, right? And food is still important, but like even like this, you want to have something that's nicely made, right? But it would be like every meal you'd want to have a special meal, right? Now it's like whatever. Like maybe hours goes by, you never eat. And like when it comes to the thinking about buying something to eat or getting something to eat, it's the thought process there is more now utilitarian rather than like a celebration, which is probably a bad thing. Bad thing. Brian's with us. What's going on, Brian? Good to see you. The power plant says it seems like for the carpentry you have a spark of joy that doesn't come up. Oh, really? Well, because it's newer, right? It's newer. It's more. I guess I find it more interesting. Where this I've been doing for 20 plus years, right? So I think maybe that's where it is. Maybe. Plus, maybe the part of it's also like I think that for me, it's the coffee is a vehicle, right? Like I could have worked at any industry. What I really enjoy is the interaction with people, with the guests, you know, and meeting their needs and taking, you know, helping them find a better way for whatever they're enjoying. And so, the hospitality has always been an interesting thing for me. But I think that for me, it's always been more about the guest and relating with people rather than necessarily just about the coffee. Like a lot of my friends some of my friends in the business are very much coffee nerds and they're very much coffee geeky guys that are very like, you know, I never was that into it, like into like being into the technical geekery of coffee. I really just like to like, you know, prepare menus for people to enjoy and create an environment where people can come in, feel relaxed and be welcomed, right? That to me is really the magic of coffee, rather than, and how do we separate ourselves is by finding high quality coffee, presenting that in a great way. You know, and also for me, it's also part of the part of the coffee that really interests me is the culinary part of it, where how can we present coffee in a more unique way, in a more interesting way, in a way that hopefully provokes thought and captures the imagination of people. So I can totally get what you're saying when we talk, because like a lot of what we talk about in YouTube coffee is about really more about the technical side of things, which is not really necessarily what I find truly enjoyable about it, right? Like I know that a lot of the other YouTubers are very much about like all the techie geeky stuff, and for me it's like we could just put the coffee in the filter and let the water flow and we're going to have great stuff because we're buying great quality product, right? So for me, most of the battle is solved by the quality of ingredients. Like for example, let's say this jam, right? I could go out at any time of the year and buy Driscoll's strawberries. I could buy it in February, right? They'll get the big, huge ones, but those are commercially grown and they're commercially done, so they're harvested quite in advance. So the flavor of the strawberry is different than the flavor of the locally grown strawberries that I'm getting at the peak of harvest in June. They're like super ruby color. Like look at the color of this thing. Like it's super ruby. And or like this. Like I could go and buy cream from the grocery store, but I'll actually drive to the Amish guy, farmer up across the border in Pennsylvania, and buy the cream directly from him because the cream line is all thick and it's floating, and you're like, and you know the type of cow, you know they're using. What are they? They're using Jersey cows, and they're doing it with the grass and the alfalfa at this time of year, and you can really get something, and you can taste the difference in the milk. And so it's always about what I mean by this, I can buy, if I'm buying nice quality, high quality coffee, half of my battle, or maybe even 60 to 80% of my battle is finished. I'm done. Like I've already, this is it. This is great. This is a greater coffee than most anything available in my city, or in most anything maybe in America, right? You can buy nice quality coffee, and which means that if you have this great coffee, you can grind it to this kind of coarseness and put too much in there and then add the hot water, and you're still going to come up with a coffee that is very enjoyable. Perhaps not as expressive and as perfection as you could if you took the time to measure if to get the Zerno grinder with the burst set, and you weigh it all out, and then you do all this beautiful brewing process with controlled temperature water that you formulate yourself. Those are all things that will help to enhance and improve the quality of your coffee. But for me, it's like, how do we get to like really nice quality without necessarily too much effort, right? I think one of the problems with coffee, and this is what I saw at Spro, because when we built the Hamden store, like the idea was to be as bold and as hardcore and just as far out as possible, right? Like we had all these brew methods, and it was very technical, and it was very like austere in some ways, and very like, we really presented a different kind of coffee experience that people had never seen in 2010, 2009, 2010, right? No one really seen that. And like nobody was doing coffee at this level in my city, and very few people were doing coffee at this level anywhere in America at the time. That's all changed now, right? Now it's much more prevalent, and it's a different game today. But back then, one of the things and it was kind of place where you walked in and you knew you were in a different place. That was intentional. Like we wanted to throw you off. And one of the things I learned is that people don't necessarily want to have too difficult. If they want to make coffee at home, they don't want to make it too difficult. And that's part of what I'm interested in. Is how can we can talk about how to do it very technically, but I also want to like be open that you don't have to use all those things. Right? All the other YouTubers are covering all the technical stuff and all these hardcore things and super expensive like equipment. I don't do sponsorships with companies, and companies know that I probably won't. I won't talk happily if I don't like it, so they don't really. They're not. I don't think companies are necessarily interested in working with me in that respect, so they're not sending me equipment. So whatever we use, we have to buy, which is fine with me because I think that there's a lot more integrity in that I can buy the equipment and tell you exactly what I think without necessarily having to make a sponsor happy. Cuny says, when you were in Hawaii, did you ever have a poha or ohelo berry jam? Oh, the poha, the poha's good. The ohelo, oh man. Anytime that I go to Volcano, I buy the one with the white label with Pele's, the drawing of Pele's hair on it, and I'll buy like 6 at a time, and then bring them with me and like stack them at home. I'm sure I still have at least one of both jars probably still here in the cupboard somewhere. But yes, if you guys are interested, if you look up online, I'm sure they must be online by now. There's a place in Volcano, Hawaii that sells the ohelo berry jam. I highly recommend it. And Keone will correct me if I'm wrong, but ohelo is if I remember correctly, ohelo is the shrub, the tree, the plant that is representative of the Hawaiian goddess Pele. And when in hula they make the leis, the adornments, if they're doing dances, hula about Pele, a lot of times they will use the ohelo and weave that into the lei po'o and the lei ku'is, right? And which are the hands and heads, and they will weave that in as as respect and homage to Pele, recognition of Pele. So Brian says, Marie and I just made fig jam from. Ooh, that's lovely. I love the figs. Like I very rare. My aunt also has a fig tree, so that's where my other aunt was getting all the figs from. So it was so nice for just a week or two to have like fresh figs around. That was very nice. Have you ever been to Bethany's Bakery? Yeah, Bethany. So Bethany's is a bakery that's close to where I live. And I think I try not to go there too often because it's so close. But what I do, and I'm cheap, like I told you, I'm a cheap guy, right? So I tend to buy their day olds because the day olds are half price. And but here's the thing: there's a place in Cockeysville, Maryland called Bethany's, and this girl, she's relative. She's much younger than me, so that's why I said girl, because you know she's not the same age. Because she's newer, and she came out of baking school, and she opened this bakery here, and she makes a cinnamon roll that I think is one of the best I've ever had. Like it's instead of using like dough, like regular like yeasted dough, she actually uses laminated doughs like you would use for croissants, and then she rolls it. And so I'll buy those. They're like $5 or something like that. So I'll buy them for like $2.50 for the day olds, and it's just fine for me because I just toss it in the toaster oven and I heat it up, and I think, oh man, it's so good. It's so good. It's not too sweet. I don't know. Did we ever? Maybe we used it in one of the episodes. I can't remember. Ken says this year I've only made jam from currants and plums. My freezer is nice. And I think that's one thing. Like I didn't make jam. I didn't make strawberry jam this year because you know sometimes you make so much. Like I'll get a field case, which is a case about this big, from the farmer, and that makes a ton. That makes so much like jam for me. I'm like, maybe next year we'll make more. Luca's here. What's going on, Luca? Needed some clotted cream. Oh, I can't. My curse is in the way. Need some clotted cream and fresh sliced strawberries on the scone and strawberry jam with no fresh, no doubt. And speaking of which, we should. Why are we waiting? So we've got my scone is all cold now, but you can see the crumb. Nice, right? Nice. And so I like it. Like if you ever go to London, one of my favorite places to have tea is a place called Fortnum and Mason. They're down in Mayfair in the fancy part of town, of course. And on they're a huge department store of all tea. It's very strange, but it's impressive nonetheless. But I've always drank Fortnum Mason tea, so when I've learned that they had a department store, and I first started going to London, I was like, oh, I need to go again. But on the very top floor, the 7th floor, they have a place called the Diamond Jubilee Lounge, whatever it's called. And you go there and they have afternoon tea. You have afternoon tea and you have high tea. High tea is not recommended because, you know, high tea is actually, they give you like stewed beef or roast beef or some kind of meat course. So man, you're just so full. And I mean like, you're like stuffed. It's like too much. It's too much. So just go for the high tea because here's the thing. At Fort Mason, when you eat all, they give you the whole tower of like tea pastries and stuff like that. But when you finish the scones, they will bring you more. Can I have more scones? Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And if you run out of like clotted cream, and I like lemon curd when I'm there, they bring you more. So it's like a non-stop epiphany of scones, and their scones are quite good. So we got a little bit of clotted cream. I don't know if any of this is proper English style, but here, as you can see, like here's a whole strawberry. Because I don't really chop mine, I just kind of put it all in there. I wanted to be rustic. Look at that, like that's a bite made. Oh. So here's the thing with the strawberries. With using farm fresh strawberries, you get just such a vibrant, even now, such a vibrant flavor. Like these particular strawberries, sweet, rounded, but also a nice, like, bright character to it. Like it's, my gosh, that's good. And Peter says freeze-dried strawberries are a favorite. Oh, dangerous now. Oh yeah. They're kind of pricey though, right? I've only had it a couple of times. Like when I was like flying out of Narita one year, they have a store there called Mugi or Mugi. I think it's Mugi. And it's kind of this strange store. They sell clothes, they sell accessories, they sell freeze-dried like fruits. And Mugi had, one day I'm walking through Narita and I was stopped by the Mugi and they have, freeze-dried strawberries. And I think one of them even had freeze-dried strawberries with white chocolate. I was like, I don't remember how much it cost, but I remember that whatever I paid for, which probably wasn't a lot of money, I just felt like there wasn't enough freeze-dried strawberries inside the bag. Like I wanted more. Like, this is not enough. how will this last a 12-hour flight back to the United States? I don't know. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. Power Plant asks, is the audio okay? Okay, good. Peter says yes. Have you seen the new Korean banana coffee craze? No, I'm not even familiar with that. So is it basically where you take the banana milk, where you take milk and you blend it with banana and add coffee? Is that, because that sounds kind of good. That sounds pretty good. I had it, the computer's a little bit far, so I have to look. Because I wasn't sure if it was kiapon or klepon. The klepon latte in Indonesia, I had the klepon latte in Indonesia this trip, real coconutty. Oh, klepon. I've not even heard of that. JP says that the cookie looked good. You mean this cookie? Yes, it's quite nice. It's quite nice. And it's a simple recipe. You don't have to go crazy with like your scone recipe. There's a guy on YouTube. If you want a good scone recipe, I like his recipe. I've tried it. What is his name? He's a British guy that used to be the baker or the cook for the Queen. Right? He's got a little corgi. Well, I guess he has a corgi at home, but in his kitchen, he has a stuffed corgi, and he likes to talk to the corgi. It's kind of cute. It's also kind of strange, but great recipes, great personality. Love the guy. And he's down in Dallas now. I don't know how he ended up in Dallas, but he's got a really good scone. I think it's the Queen's scone. I think the Queen, the recipe that he made for the Queen. So that, if you look that up, that's really, really good. What is the guy's name? I can't remember the name. Power Plant says, some more strawberries in California. Well, wow, I believe it. I believe it. Almost ashamed to jam them. Oh, Muji. It is Muji. Okay. Muji. In Japan, the locals always say Mujirushi or Mujiroshi yoin, which means no brand. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Maybe I was thinking of Mugen. The car company, right? Not that I'm a ricer or anything like that. I never was a ricer. I guess I am because, maybe I was. At one point in time, when I was living in Hawaii, I did have a 1979 Toyota pickup truck that, I didn't do this, I bought it this way. But the guy had put in, the previous owner had like lowered, cut the springs and lowered it. He put like centerline wheels on it, like the kind of solid looking ones with the holes. He had a chain steering wheel, which was actually the chain steering wheel would eventually be the demise of the truck. And he dropped in a 22R engine in it. So this thing, I wouldn't say it would beat like a Mustang. Like all the Honda Civic guys were like, I can beat a Mustang. Yeah, but it's still not a Mustang. And you spent $30,000 to fix the car to do that. But it was, and it had the thrust shifter. What a crazy truck that was. And like, yeah, I crashed it because the brakes were like misaligned. So if you really had to hit it hard, an emergency brake, the calipers would clamp in different pressures. So it actually caused the vehicle to shoot out like this. And it happened a few times, and I didn't even think about getting it fixed. And one time, I got cut off by two buses. I got cut off by a bus, hit the brakes, slid the truck around like this, and killed me. This is right on Ala Moana Boulevard, heading towards Waikiki, in front of Ala Moana Beach Park. It slides around, and the second bus that was behind it clips us. And I was like, damn it. That was the end of that truck. Oh well. What can you do? All right, so we've been babbling about scones and all kinds of like enthusiasms for how would the coffee? When the real reason of the topic of the show is grinders. So I'm interested to know what you think. And you could put this, you could say it now, or you put it in the comments later if you have any thoughts, but I want to make a grinder out of this block of wood. So if you're familiar, there's something called a bandsaw box where if you look it up on YouTube, you can see some examples. But the bandsaw boxes are basically you take a piece of wood like this, and you cut the whole box, including the drawer, out of the block of wood. I think I might have shown it on one of the episodes earlier this year of a bandsaw box that I made. But the idea is that you want to have something thick, and I'm trying to think about, and I'm trying to think of like what style. Like originally, I was thinking. This is the bandsaw box that I made before, and it's all freehand, right? Something maybe not like this exactly, but maybe to give you an idea of what bandsaw boxes can be. Like this is done in the style of a guy named Michael Cullen from California, who I sat in on a workshop with him, and and here I am thinking about bandsaw. I used to think bandsaw boxes were dumb. Like, why would I do that? That's just silly. But I was at this event in Connecticut, and Michael Cullen was giving a demo, and so I sat in on it. I was like, bandsaw boxes, they're stupid, they're dumb, whatever. But it's a session that there's nothing else that I'm interested in, so I'll just sit in on it. And I'm sitting there, and Michael Cullen starts off with, when I first started, I thought bandsaw boxes were dumb. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I think. And then he proceeds to give a demo on how to make a box. Very similar, and shows the technique on making this type of box. And I was like, whoa, I was like, that's amazing. Like he does it all freehand. Like this is all done freehand. You just draw the pattern on the piece. But I don't know if I'm gonna make it like this. I don't necessarily want to have a lid that's gonna come off. I want a drawer, kind of like something in function like this. And part of this reason because I ended up buying this kit. This Wood River antique style hand crank coffee grinder mechanism kit, right? Out of cast bronze. Now I know some of you are like, why would you buy that? You could easily buy a better hand grinder. Yes, I could. Absolutely. And I'm sure the grind quality is not going to be, from this, will not be of the level of a lot of the modern grinders. But I thought, so this kind of ties in with my enthusiasm for Cafe del Hombre in Tokyo, because at Cafe del Hombre they have a bigger, is it a Fuji Royal hand crank grinder that's made into a lamp that's sitting on their bar, and I just kind of like it. But they have a mechanism that's like this, but I just thought this was fun, and so you can put it together. But basically, it's all fully done. It's got the ceramic burrs and conical burrs at that. And yeah, you can see, that's not terrible. I guess that's not terrible. That's kind of nice. So you can see inside here, I don't know if you can see it that well, but you can see the conical burrs are here. Peter Cullen is the voice of... This is how bandsaw boxes are dumb. Autobots. But, so basically, there's two screws, there's two holes here. And so you're just going to make just like this, you make a box with a hole in it to fit this. And then, so really, I've got this big piece of walnut. This is 12-quarter walnut from a slab that I had that I, glued together. I actually cut the pieces smaller because for whatever reason I was looking at this and I was like, it looks kind of the same size. And then I realized, wait a minute, after I cut it and glued it and it was drying, I was like, that's not exactly what I wanted. I didn't want to make a reproduction of this. I wanted to make something, whatever. I don't even know what I wanted to make, but I was like, oh. So now I'm a little bit limited as far as size. But, if you have any ideas, I'm interested. I'm interested in what you think. Cutie says, I had an F-150 with center lines. What did it? Yeah, but at the time it was awesome, right? You're like, wow. I got it. It's amazing. And I bought it because I got a good deal on this truck, and I was like, and I wanted a pickup truck. And after that, I was like, pickup trucks are awesome because they just carry stuff in it, right? Like you don't necessarily have to worry too much about what to carry. Like, yeah, it's just so much nicer in that respect. Power Plant says the box style grinder is kind of ergonomically bad. You should make a cylinder of much. Oh, that could be. That could be. Could be a big cylinder. There's no limit to what we could do. Maybe if I was to do a cylinder, maybe do a different. Start with a different wood. I was at Williams-Sonoma the other day, and they had these little like salt containers, and I was looking at it. It's kind of nice looking. I was like, and then I was looking at it, and I realized that they were using small strips of like blocks of wood that they had glued together, and then cut the whole thing out of it. And I was like, oh, that's what I should do with my scraps. Build a box, build something like that, you know, kind of container. Really kind of interesting. So maybe we'll do that. Coffee comes at that box with thanks. As I was working, I had really no idea what I was doing. I was just kind of like growing squiggly lines, and now it looks like a leaf. And then I painted it green because I wanted to. And then you could see how it's got these striations. These are actually like the marks of the bandsaw blade. And I sanded it down to try to see. This was purely just like playing around to see what might happen, you know. But the way the technique that Michael Cullen does, he cuts everything out of one block, and these little inserts that are here are cut from the blocks themselves, so everything fits really well. You're like, oh, that's really smart. How did you figure that? How did you figure that out, dude? Keone says, isn't there an old Japanese hand grinder that's pretty rare but is supposed to be really good? I'm not familiar with. I'm not well versed in hand grinders, especially Japanese hand grinders. I would make the guess that probably one of those like Fuji Royal old hand grinders are probably pretty awesome. Like, I think a lot of the Fuji Royal stuff is generally pretty awesome, I think, quality-wise. But I'm not well-versed. I don't know. That I don't know. Power Plant says, I like olive wood for a salt pit. Olive wood is so nice. Did you know that olive wood, I was just reading about this recently, olive wood is not grown for lumber harvesting. It's only harvested after the olive tree has been expended, which I think it means that the olive wood that you're buying is like 200 years old. And I was like, what? That's amazing. And like, I'll see the olive wood at the lumber yards, and man, some of it is just super gorgeous, super gorgeous. But unglazed ceramic is better because it's hygroscopic. Does that mean it expels the water or prevents water from coming in? Hydro means it absorbs it, right? I'm not very good as a scientist. My aunt is a relatively famous food chemist. She's very much the scientist. She'll talk. Even my dad, he's a doctor. They talk, and I have no idea what they're talking about. But I'm glad that you're giving me enough respect that you would use those words, but I have no idea what those words mean. And it's like, babesiosis, right? I have no idea what that means. Does it mean I'm going to die? Okay, that's what I want to know. All right, that's pretty good. Keone says that my Zerno has olive wood accents. I saw that at, they have at the show they have a little display that shows the different woods that are available for the accents. And those are very nice. The Zerno is a really nice looking grinder. I would love to play with one. All right. I guess it's time to go because it is way past 11 and I've just been babbling on. And I don't really have much to babble on about now anymore. I've showed you the grinder. At some point in time, I'll actually get to work on it. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that's piled up that's kind of halfway done. Stools, chairs, tables. I still am working on the idea that I'm working on because of Omniel's encouragement, like that, just sitting back here and just waiting for me to understand what I'm going to do and how to figure out how to do it. So, all right, well, good to see all of you. Be back again tomorrow. And the grinder thing might be a little bit of a suggestion for tomorrow's potential topic. All right, so hope you have a wonderful day, night, or wherever you are, sleep out there. So hope you have a great one. And be back again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern with another live stream, probably talking about grinders again. So now I gotta figure out, can I reach around? Did it stop? No, it did not. Oh, there, it's up here.